morning, everyone. This presentation is presented by the OLM students, which are from the School of Our Lady of Mercy School, located in Rio de Janeiro. As you can see, this is a beautiful tropical and coastal city, Rio de Janeiro, very commonly known in Brazil as one of its cultural centers. This is an absolutely beautiful picture because it shows our sea, which we love. But unfortunately, this is not always the paradise in other places. There has been a lot of plastic pollution in a couple of years because plastic is a material that lasts a long time, yet is not sustainable to our planet. So it ends up in our oceans and in other places, messing up the chemical compositions in them. This, unfortunately, it also affects deeply animals. As you can see, they are forced to interact with the plastic that is human-made, obviously, and it will interfere with their life, with their food income, and so on. And they end up digesting this plastic. But one problem that has only been more recently diagnosed is the fact of microplastic, which plastic cannot be broken down by the environment, and so it just breaks up into smaller pieces. This has become a very, very huge problem. And so I present you with a presentation of microplastics because the problem is bigger than you can see. Now Marina will further introduce this topic by stating its history.
Okay, now I'm going to give a brief historical overview about the history of microplastics. So firstly, in 1866, the first man-made commercial plastic material was invented by Alexander Parks, that is called Parkism. Then, in 1870, the first commercially successful plastic was done by John Hyatt, as you can see in this billiard ball. Next, in 1907, Leo Baekeland patented Bakelite, the first fully synthetic plastic. Then, plastics really started to spread due to World War II because industrialization was very important for the war. For example, nylon was used for parachutes, ropes, body armor, and helmet liners. Moreover, the production in the United States increased by 300%. Also, plexiglass was used in aircraft windows, which were previously done by glass. In Brazil, the first polystyrene factory arrived in São Paulo in 1949. And how did researchers started to recognize what microplastics are? So firstly, in 1970, the first microplastic was seen in a plankton sample in North America. Then in 2004 and 2005, the first studies about microplastics started to be done. And in 2013, several actions were taken to try to combat the presence of microplastics. For example, as you can see in this artwork done by an Italian artist, Garbage Patch State. Next, in 2019 and 2020, we have the development of the first biodegradable plastics, which are done through a process, as you can see in this picture, started from a natural origin, such as cassava or legumes, and then they undergo dissolution and other chemical processes and forming processes until they become a plastic through decomposition.
Okay, so as Marina said before, microplastics is a recent discovery in the field of science, and it affects very badly marine life nowadays. So, microplastics are pieces of plastic that vary from less than 5 millimeters, but there are two types, large and small. Large microplastics vary from 1 millimeter to 5 millimeters. Some examples are small spheres or pellets of plastic, fragments of plastic that are seen a lot in fishes, film, and pieces of fiber. The small microplastics are pieces of plastic that are smaller than 1 millimeter. Some examples is a fragment from a paint. When it degrades from a wall, for example, from a car, it becomes microplastic as well. So there are two types of microplastics, primary microplastics and secondary microplastics. Primary microplastics, they are already created small. For example, some of them come in makeup, others in the shirts, in your clothes, in the fibers in it, and also in plastic pellets as shown before. The secondary microplastics, there are plastics that are created big and they degrade over time. Some examples are plastic bags, water bottles, straws, and they all degrade by different processes. So primary microplastics have some main sources. Some of them are the tires. When they have an friction with the road, it releases microplastics. Synthetic textiles, because many of them are made out of plastic. Marine coating, the paint in the outside of the ships, they degrade over time and they also release microplastics in the ocean. Road markings, after some time the friction of the road markings, they degrade and also release microplastics. Personal care products, they already come with these small pellets of plastic. Plastic pellets themselves, they're used in different things, but they are also produced very small. And city dust overall contains a lot of microplastics. So how are secondary microplastics formed? So first of all, there's chemical breakdown, in which together with the solar UVB radiation, which are the rays of the sun when they hit the plastic, and the temperature, it causes oxidation, hydrolysis, and degradation of the plastic. So one example is when you leave a piece of plastic in the sun for a long time, after a period of time, it starts to break down and fragment itself. Mechanical breakdown, there are two types. There's in the land and in the sea, mainly. In the land, there's mechanical weathering, when there's the effects from rain, snow, wind, and over time this breaks down the pieces of plastic. Washing and tearing, for example, inside the washing machine, when you take the product out of the washing machine, you can see some little pieces in which you generally throw the trash. And animal abrasion, when animals actually find, for example, plastic bottles in a forest, some of them break the bottle. My dog, for example, she breaks plastic bottles for fun. And in the sea, there is wave action, when the pieces of plastics are on the top of the ocean and the waves hit on them, they eventually break down. And sediment particle abrasion, when the sediments hit the pieces of plastic and this causes them to break down over time.
So in our presentation in Colombia, we're going to bring many different products and we're going to show you guys and relate how these products that contain microplastics can be used in our day-to-day life.
After the students see how these products interact with them and how they have microplastics, we're going to explain where are they from and the amount of microplastics that these products contain.
So you might be wondering, how exactly do microplastics end up in our environment? Well, there are several ways. One of which is rain will wash down microplastics into bodies of water. Another way is that wind will pick them up and take them to fields and other places. But most importantly, it's because humans do not know how to dispose properly plastic. And so what happens is that most sewage treatments and filters aren't able to pick microplastics up, as they are very small. So researches have been done all around the world. For example, in Singapore, there have been found over 400 different types of microplastic in every single beach. Another place that they have found it is in Illinois, USA, and they're underground limestone aquifers. The problem is that these underground limestone aquifers, they're not these ones specifically, but these type of aquifers, they are the ones that provide the world with over one-fourth of its drinkable water. It has also been found in deep sea creatures and in sediments in the North Sea and Barents Sea. And one of the maybe most shocking researchers have found them in the air in the Pyrenees Mountains in France. In the air, it was not a small amount. It was almost as much as found in Paris, France's capital. This led for further researches in other mountains, such as the Swiss Alps, where it was found in the air and snow, and then other researchers found it in the Arctic, in the snow, and in 1,000-year-old icebergs. In animals, this microplastic can be quite catastrophic. Physically, it can block an animal's digestive system, enabling them to be able to digest food or even eat it at all. But this is mostly on smaller animals. Chemically, microplastics are able to absorb toxins such as pesticides, heavy metals, and POP. POPs are persistent organic pollutants, meaning that they cannot be broken down by the environment. These toxins can cause effects such as hormonal, reproductive, and immune and neurological dysfunction in many animals. It also can get stuck in animals and humans' body fat, blood, and other body fluids. This becomes an even bigger problem once you take into consideration that we have biological magnification, a system that will be further explained by my friend Clara.
Microplastics not only impact the water, but it can also affect our own health, the humans.
And now an interaction will occur utilizing food in order to comprehend how microplastics affect our lives.
But how does microplastic affect our life? It all starts due to food chain. Food chain is just basically the food network in which primary consumers, which are small animals, they consume on other fishes, and the stronger and bigger animals consume each other. However, biological magnification has a certain impact regarding microplastics. Biological magnification is a food chain in which there is a certain pollutant, in this case, the microplastic. It starts being consumed by very small animals, it can be from plankton to small animals, and then consumed by the bigger animals, which are us humans. Since these animals are also consuming the microplastics, this quantity starts increasing and results to us consuming a much higher amount of microplastics than the small animals. Thus, us humans that would discard wrongly the products, we end up consuming it all over again.
Microplastics can also be seen in non-water products such as plastic containers and the food that we eat, and plastic water bottles in the water that we drink. So this is also contaminating us. And also, do you know that the salts that we season every day contains 3 microplastics per 5 grams? And this also is seen in canned fish, non-marine sources such as chicken, and indoor doves.
There isn't a certain type of how microplastics can affect our health. There are certain hypotheses, but in a research made by Philip Schwab, including several types of people, it resulted that after consuming several types of food such as fish, in their feces remains a very critical amount of microplastics, being principal the PPP and PEGs, which are the main components of microplastics. These can also, some hypotheses that can affect our body can range from intense immunological responses and even cause problems in our blood lymphatic system due to the absorption of pollutants.
It is just a hypothesis, but if we really ingest microplastics, we can have vomiting, diarrhea, infertility, and even cancer.
However, these problems are being addressed through legislations.
Besides human health, policy and legislation are also important factors to the issue of microplastics. For example, the European Union has proposed a pollutant ban to try to combat microplastics. Several other countries such as Canada, France, the Republic of Korea, Italy, New Zealand, Sweden, and the UK, and Northern Ireland, and the US have proposed also bans on microplastics, and some of them only in cosmetics. Next, in Brazil, there are proposed legislation to try to combat plastics and microplastics in the entire country. However, in Rio de Janeiro, where our team comes from, there are already legislations to try to counter this issue. For example, recently there has been a ban on glitter, as you can see in this picture, glitter, which is widely used in Carnaval, which is one of the most famous parties of Rio de Janeiro, so this was a very important step in legislation. And there are also other important steps that have been taken, such as prohibiting plastic bags in commercial institutions and straws. The rest of my team is now going to talk about some other solutions that we can also implement in our daily lives.
One way that you can tackle microplastics is by choosing your products wisely. When purchasing anything, please check the tag if it contains the prefix poly, since poly means microplastics. Also, download the app Beat the Microbead.
So, as Manu has said, the Beat the Microbead app is a very easy and fast way to learn if the product you're using has or hasn't microplastic. So, there are 3 steps for you to use, and it's very fast and easy to do. You just first scan the code bar of the product, and immediately it would tell you if the product contains or not can search for the product's brand on the app, and the app will tell you if the brand usually uses microplastics.
Have you ever forgotten your reusable market bag and just got the normal plastic? Or have you ever forgotten your reusable water bottle and just bought the bottle on the streets? Well, this might not have a problem for you yet, but it has for the world. You might not even see those products for a while, but then you will see them again because they take up thousands of years to degrade. So the first action that you need to do is to refuse single-use plastics because it will take a long time to degrade, and this will help for the production of microplastics.
Another thing that you can do is purchase second-hand items, which are any products that you're not going to be buying from the factory or from the main producer, but actually from another person. So in that way, you're doing a sustainable action since you're increasing the product's lifespan, you're reducing the carbon footprint, and also in a general way, you're going to reduce microplastics production, as many of our clothing lines contain microplastics in their fabrication. Thus, by purchasing second-hand items, you're going to reduce microplastics.
Have you ever seen any of these products? So all of these products are alternative options for things we use daily that contain microplastics, but we can use without microplastics. So two of these products, the biodegradable glitter and the eco-friendly straws, are really used here in Rio, in our city Rio, since we have prohibited the use of glitter and the plastic straws.
Now, as you might not know, there are a lot of exfoliators that have microplastics in their composition, since it is a good material to use to exfoliate. However, in order to decrease the production of microplastics, you can do your own exfoliator. And now we're going to do interaction with the students present in our workshop, where we are going to produce our own exfoliator.
Scientists are nowadays looking for innovations to try to reduce the production of microplastics, and this biologist Kevin Kumala, which is the creator of Avani Eco, created the biodegradable plastic bag, in which it is a bag produced from cassava starch, and it is totally organic and safe for animals to ingest. And instead of degrading in thousands of years like the normal plastic degrades, it degrades in 3 to 6 months, which is much faster, and it doesn't bring a lot of harm to the environment.
And also you can do is to support organizations that follow the closed-loop circular economy. So we're usually used with the linear economy, which you buy the product, you use it, and then you discard it. The circular economy is the one that you buy the product, you use it, and then you take it back to the company so they can use it as a source of new materials. A lot of companies do that, such as Apple, when you return the cell phone back, and many others. So by doing that, you're going to reduce the amount of waste, and you're going to give more time to the non-renewable resources to grow, and therefore you're not going to be producing no more microplastics and helping the environment in the overall sense.
So one of the solutions is also to participate in cleanups to prevent big plastic items from transforming into microplastics. But just from you being there, you're already doing your part because you're spreading the word and also influencing people to participate as well.
And another thing that we can do, all of us, is to follow the 5 R's.
Which is reuse as much as possible,
Refuse single-use plastic,
Reduce as much as you can.
recycle everything,
and repurpose your lifestyle.
As mentioned by the group before, our school, we are doing the solutions.
One of the things we did was creating a basket. And with these baskets, we presented to the kids at our school and awarened them about the microplastics. Here's some pictures of our presentation and how they were engaged with the project as a whole.
Also, on the same day, we also did a microplastic word search by getting the lyrics of our song, which is going to be shown at the end of this presentation, and ask for the children to interact with them. Here is just a few.
We did a play at the same day to explain to the kids in a more accessible way about microplastics and the harm that it's causing and how to tackle it.
On the same day, we also participated for the high school students instead of the climate strike presentation, which was made by the activist Greta Thunberg, in which we presented our microplastic actions and solutions and our message.
We also created some alternative products to, instead of disposing plastic, reusing it and doing a lot of games so that little kids could play.
So in this video shows just interaction of us using our alternative products while also participating in a cleanup.
And at that same day, we went to a cleanup, a beach cleanup, organized by the Acolon company, and it's called Cleanup Rio. There, we collected trash, so avoiding that microplastics reach to the beach and then harming the marine ecosystem. And also, we distributed our message to the public.
Also, Madu, we wrote letters to eco-friendly brands, which are all of these Brazilian companies that have the message to really spread their life of the greener way.
And we created a logo, which is very interesting since it is time, and it's going away and becoming microplastics. So to shock people and to aware them that our time is running out to address microplastics.
And then finally we have the creation of our video, which we wanted to address by using the actual reusable plastic that we recycled by using cans and bottles. And we're actually going to show this video that was shown in the film festival. And now we have the song that I was talking previously. We're not going to present here, but we're going to show here by the two singers. And please sing together with us. Thank you very much for coming to our workshop.